إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد عباد الله يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد عباد الله. All praise due to Allah and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, his family, and his followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that Allah is the only one worthy of worship, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his last and final messenger. At the shore of Thaton, a very small city in southeast of Asia, at the shore of that city, two brothers were found at the shore. Scared, wet, barely survived drowning. That was in the 11th century. In 1050, to be particular, they disputed over where these two twin brothers came from. Some said, and that's the most of historians speak about these two, to be originally from Iraq. Escaped two warriors were found on the shore of that city. And some said, no, they actually from the northern India, the north of India. Anyway, they took refuge and stayed in a monastery for the monk in Thaton at that time. They described them in the history book of that particular dynasty as tall. They were tall, fair, swift, brave, very strong, known as the Shobayan brothers. They became very well known of they be very skillful swordsmen and great warriors, that the king made them very close to him, and they were a special agent for him, infiltrating his enemies' lines. And in one of the battles between this kingdom and the Chinese dynasty, the Chinese king, these two brothers managed to infiltrate the lines of the emperor of China and went all the way, killed his bodyguard, and even the drone with a white line, which is a way they used to write at that time, on the king's bodies and the walls inside that where the king's is, threaten messages that if they don't back off and they don't basically stop the aggression against their people or where the king that they're fighting on his behalf, that the next time their king will be killed. And that brought that huge dynasty of China to its knees to sign a treaty with a small kingdom of that region. One thing was known about these two, other than being so brave and smart and great warriors, that they were Muslims in a kingdom which is known to be a Buddhist kingdom, where Muslims were not really recognized much at that kingdom at that time. But didn't last for long. A suspicion was raised around these two warriors who were Muslims, especially after they basically refused to be part of building a pagoda, which is a Buddhist temple They said, we're not going to be part of building that or sanctioning this because of our religion. So the king basically ordered for their executions. Not only them, but one of them has children who were killed while they're just children from the fear of what these children might be in the future. This history and others documented is the most authentic, reliable source in the history of Myanmar or Burma, known as Burma, in their Glass Place Chronicle, which is considered the document that they refer to. Even though as us as Muslim, we have also many, not only Muslim historians, other than the historians of Burma, documented the existence of Muslim long time ago. Because when you hear the official narration of the Burmese government today, or Myanmar government today, saying that the Rohingya or the Muslims are just or being considered foreigners who the British brought into the land of Burma, you will know that this is nothing but just false statement and accusation. It's a baseless claim, historically, far away from being true. Arakan, one of the kingdoms that we read about, that we heard about, that we have documentary of more than 400 years, a kingdom ruled by about 40 kings who are Muslims. They have their own civilizations, they have their own language, they have their own history, they have their own currency, which is in it. And it basically exists until today in museums where you see the coins of that dynasty or that kingdom has La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and in the corners of it Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali radiallahu an. It was a Sunni state. It's been said that Islam reached the area of Myanmar or Burma during the Abbasi dynasty. You talk about the 700 in the 8th century in the hand of businessmen and through trade, the same way they reach the shore of India and the shore of Indonesia and many other places. And another big wave of Muslim landed and came to that part of the world during the Mughal Empire as well. And yes, there is a group of people or a good number of people moved to this part of the world when during the British occupation they came from India or maybe as came from Bangladesh, known today as basically Bangladesh after they take their independence. But just let you know, when you hear a baseless claim like that, one of the things that you need to be aware of, that this little country, known a small country, which is Burma, has more than 135, and in some resources, 140 different ethnic groups. Why singling out? Why in 1980s, when the new law of this country was passed to classify the citizen of this country to categories, and guess what? There is a one category down in the bottom for the Muslims. Not recognize them as a citizen of the country. As a matter of fact, the suffering of the Muslim in Burma is not only to one ethnic group, the Rohingya. It's also the Muslim, the people who accepted Islam. They were treated like the Rohingya, even if they are Mang. Historically speaking, that's not a lesson of history for Khutbatul Jumu'ah. But you go and search it in simple sources in history. You will find that the Rohingya are older than the Mag, the Buddhist, in that part of the world. But unfortunately, like one of the politicians said it so eloquently, he said the Burmese, The Muslims, Burmese, the Muslims, the Rohingyas, are friendless group. Friendless group. And their prosecution didn't start a few months back or a few years back. It's been centuries of prosecutions, centuries of killing and mass killing and basically destroying their villages. Buddha Bhai, the great king of Burma, is known in 18th century, when he brought Imams in front of the public and asked them to eat pork. And when they refused, they were executed in public. They claim, though, that he apologized later on and called them saints, but what that will benefit. And not only that, but that led for, after that, a mob that came from the Buddhist monk killing and targeting the Muslims in that part of the world. When the British came, divide, conquer, they raised this tension between the Muslim and Buddhist with so many stories and interesting basically ways. And for the record, the people who known to fought the British the most during the occupation were the Muslim Rohingyas. And that's one of the reasons they were also targeted. But after the British left, there are sentiments in the country, anti-colonization of England, and because of England used a lot of Indian soldiers, basically there is sentiment in the country against the Indian, and that was somehow directed to be connecting Indian to Muslims, because so many came at that time with the British. And it became the basis for targeting so many Muslims through these centuries. In World War II, when Japan wiped out Burma, 40,000 Muslims from the Rohingya were fighting to defend their villages. They're wiped out by the Japanese, killed in the process. Would that intercede for the Muslims in Burma? That they fought the British occupations, fought the Japanese occupations? No. General Nguyen, in 1962, when he came to power, he expelled the Muslims from the army, forbade them to be treated like citizens. And many laws were legislated at that time. You cannot have more than one child or two child. Yes, there were communists, but this is we're targeting Muslim in particular, these laws. Muslim must marry a Buddhist. A Muslim woman must marry a Buddhist. You can't name your children with the Muslim names. You cannot have Eid al-Adha. Under the claim of, being nice and merciful to the animals, they forbade any slaughtering, especially the Qurbani ritual of the Muslims. Animals are not allowed to be slaughtered, but the Rohingyas are allowed to be slaughtered, allowed to be stepped on by their feet, the feet of some extremist Buddhist monks, putting the children's face in the mud and stepping on them to basically for them to suffocate to death. This is not my claim. It's all over the internet. It's the United Nations report that there is a genocide happening in that part of the world. 1997, another massacre for the Muslims there. In 2001 in particular, where the Buddhists demand to destroy a masjid that was built more than 800 years ago. As a retaliation to what the Taliban did to the statue of Buddha in Afghanistan. More than 400 houses were burned. Allah knows only how many people were killed during that riot in 2001. 2012 was worst. 2013 was unforgettable stories, where thousands of people were killed, children, old men. Then all of a sudden we have this claim that there is a terrorist group attack some soldiers, or a picture comes on the Facebook saying that there is a Buddhist woman raped by Muslims. Then all of a sudden 400 or 500 houses, women are basically raped, children killed, people were pushed out. And since 2016, there is a constant attack on the Rohingya, on the Muslims in Myanmar. Since 2016 until today, never stopped. Led by an extreme or an extremist Buddhist group, a movement made of around 960 something group, that is a coalition that is made to under the banner of Burma for Burmese, which it means we don't need any non-Buddhist in the region. Yes, I understand that some of this justification, which is no justification, when people said, oh, historically speaking, they were so against the Indian, we see Muslim as Indian because Indian have treated Buddhists in a very bad way. The Hindus treated the Buddhists bad in India and never let Buddhism to basically enter India. So they want to be basically the sincere guards of Buddhism in the world. But that justifies these massacres. Heartless. Those who care to kill an insect, they don't consider even these Muslims worth, their life worth to be saved. It's unbelievable. Forget about what you hear in Syria. Forget about what you hear in Palestine. Forget what you hear in any other place in the world. That there is no nation, there is no people have faced such prosecutions, for such killing like the people of this nation. And it is still an issue that many Muslims even don't know where is that. Myanmar, a young kid called me, oh, this is the Brazilians football players. I said, yeah, sure. It's sad. What we can do. And I'm saying this because when we see tomorrow another ISIS popping up in that part of the world, when you see another Qaeda coming up and saying, you know what, we're going to stand up for those, I wouldn't be surprised. Because it's keep happening again and again and again and again. When we don't stand up for what is right, when the good people don't stand up for what is correct, bad things happen. And people take advantage of the situation for whatever reasons and political reasons they have. Maybe in the second one, for a few minutes, I'll share some tips maybe all of us can do and be aware of. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يجمعنا وإياكم ممن يسمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. أقول ما سمعتم وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد. My brothers and sisters, I think our duty as Muslims towards what's happening there, first thing, creating an awareness, speaking about it, knowing about what's happening. Because we are one ummah, one nation. Yes, there is areas in the Muslim world get more attention for several reasons. Maybe there is more media, more awareness, there's more money. Maybe because the nature of these areas, because it's in the heart of the Muslim world. No doubt. It hurts way more than any other place. But it doesn't mean that other cases like this case, and the Muslims in Kashmir, and many other places where Muslims as minority are so badly treated to be forgotten and not to be spoken about and not to be aware of. We have in this masjid at least 300 people can be an advocate for the people of Rohingya, for the Burma, in any conversation, to make sure that we raise an awareness. So when you hear that there is a petition signed up, asking you to sign to put pressure on our representatives in the Congress and basically in the international affairs or human rights committees to make sure that there is sanction. How come that we, during President Obama's time, we lifting the sanction over this country? And not only that, and we giving them basically trade and deals with arming the army over there. And so-called freedom fighter, the one that been she received the Nobel Prize. When the BBC interview her, she comes so angry saying, "Why did you choose a Muslim? Couldn't find any other person to interview me." Such people don't deserve such prize. But if it's the Nobel Prize been given to the people who massacred the Palestinians in Sabra and Shatila, I'm not surprised. Nothing surprised me anymore. Creating an awareness is one of our duties. Making dua for them, it's another duty, and we should not underestimate it. And people say, dua, dua. Yes, when the last time did you make dua for the Burmese? You just think about it. That's another thing. 3, helping and supporting. That's why I instructed the brothers here in the masjid to put in our Facebook, in our website, in this monitors, because an email come to each and every one of you, a link of Islamic Relief who doing a relief effort in Bangladesh, trying to save the life of those people who are trying to flee the persecution, the killing in that part of the world. I know we're donating to Harvey, I know we're donating to many causes, but those people also deserve something from your attention and from your charity. I know one brother called me and he wants to raise funds. As a policy in the masjid, I cannot back up any organization that I don't know personally. But you know what? Because of circumstances, I'm not going to stop that person. And it became a personal responsibility between you and the person. I only try to promote what I know that through the channels that I know 100% of and I'm aware of. But we need to show interest and care for what's happening to our brothers and sisters around the world. And this is just one wound, one part of our bodies is bleeding so badly for too long. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring an end to the suffering of those people. And also one of the things that we can do is calling the Myanmar government, writing to them, calling their embassy. We don't agree on that. We don't support that. Writing petitions for them. Writing petitions to some. I know it's hard in Bangladesh to take more people, refugees. I know it's not easy for a country to do that. And they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people already. But we have still seen inhumane way of treating these refugees. We cannot accept when an interior minister of a Muslim country saying that we're not going to accept the refugees. And reaching out to the Muslim world to do something, to act. That's also some of our duties as a Muslim community here. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His names and attributes to make it easy for our brothers and sisters over there and all over the world. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring a fast relief and swift justice to them. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect their lives, to protect their wealth, to protect their villages, to protect their deen. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring to them those who will support them, aid them, protect them, and help them. Allahumma ameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our hearts soft and our hands generous in supporting them. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His names and attributes to forgive our sins, to forgive our shortcoming. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and never to test us with such tests, and to protect our deen and our safety and our lives, us and our family, our children and our country. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم إنا نسألك يا حي يا قيوم يا أرحم الراحمين أن ترفع الظلم عن المظلومين وأن ترفع عن إخواننا في البورمة وفي كل مكان يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وأصلح ذرياتنا وأزواجنا وصل اللهم وسلم على نبينا محمد وصلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وقوموا للصلاة يرحمكم الله.